So we begin by implementing this topology in ENSP. So let me do that. So I'm gonna start by clicking new topo to create a new topology. Then here under this area, I'm gonna click on router so that I can see the list of available routers. So these are the different versions of routers. One that we've been referring to is, for example, AR2220. So the AR series routers are actually here. But I'll advise that most of the time we simply use this router with just the name router. Otherwise, in other cases, the lab guide might also specify which router we want to use. At that case, we use the particular router that we've been told to use. But for the basic labs, we'll just be using this router with the name router. So how do I put them in my topo? I can click on it, then drop one router and another router because I need two routers. Then I go and click on the arrow icon. After that, this one has a label R2. I'll double click on that label so that it can open up. I want to rename it to R3 as per what we have on my, here on my topology. Then I'll need to interconnect them now. So I'll need to interconnect them. To interconnect them, I'll have to come here and click on the connections tab here. Then I click on copper because I need to connect them using copper. Then just before I click on R1, let me go back to the topology. So they have connected on G000. Here G000. So I'm gonna do exactly that. So I'm gonna click on R1. It's going to give me several interfaces. We have Ethernet interface and Gigabit Ethernet. So G is actually Gigabit Ethernet. So I'm going to pick Gigabit Ethernet. As you can see, we have several from 0 to 3, but they have used 0. So I'm going to choose 0. Then I'm going to come here, again, click on it, then choose on GE0/0/0 like that. Then I'm going to click on that arrow icon on the top bar. Then I'm going to click and highlight the two routers so that I can align them. So horizontal align. Then I'm going to take these labels and just put them under each of those interfaces there. If I'm not able to see these interfaces, again, on the top bar, we have this icon here, show all interfaces. So you can always click on it to either show or hide the interface labels. My advice is at all times, you make sure that your interface labels are actually showing. I can zoom into my topology just to make it clearer, like that. Then after that, I can check again. So I'm just doing Alt Tab to switch between windows so that I can see what I have on my topology. So the next thing I need to do is to label this interface with .1, this one with .3, and the network address 10.1.13.0/24. So I'm going to click on this text icon here on the top bar. So there, then I label this with 10.0.13.0/24. So that is our network address. Then in particular, click on that text again. Here, we are supposed to configure it with .1. Then this guy here, we are supposed to configure him with .3. Yeah? So I can drag it just above it, drag this one just a little bit. So I'm going to check again and confirm. So indeed, that is supposed to be .1, and this is supposed to be .3. That is supposed to be R1, and that's supposed to be R3. Good. Now I can start my routers. You see, when I've not started my router, this particular interface has a red dot here, meaning it's actually down. It's actually down. So I have to start the router for it to change the status. Now, If I click on CLI, if I right click on my router and click on CLI, you see it will tell me that please press enter to start. When I press enter, it will tell me the device has not been started. So I have to start the device before I can be able to configure the device. So to do that, I right click on it, then click start. So it will take a number of seconds depending on how fast your machine is. So I've also started R3. So now you see they have a lighter color there compared to what they were. In a short while also these interfaces will change, I think, from red to blue, because the interfaces now will be up. So I can click on it now, right click on it, and then click on CLI. Now your CLI will have a different formation here, or format, in terms of the color and the size of this text. So for mine, I've changed the color, the size, and also the transparency. How to do that? You click on the settings icon here. So I had promised that I'll show you this. You click on the settings icon, then you come to CLI. The next tab here is CLI. So under CLI, you can be able to change the transparency. You can either use opaque, translucent, or custom. So for me, I like using custom because I can now vary the transparency as I want. And in this particular area, you're able to see the transparency. This is why I like making it a little bit translucent, is so that I can see the background. Whenever I'm configuring, I can also see the labels on my topology, so that I cannot configure the wrong parameter on the wrong label. So that's why I like making it a little bit translucent. So after you're done with the transparency, you can come to the font tab here. Under font, we have the CLI font. So if you want to change the size, for example, you can click here, select, then you change the size. If you want to change the color, the font color, for example, I want to change it to that light green, I can simply click on that and then OK. If you want to change the background color, I can also change it, but I don't want to change the background color. So now if I click OK and I reopen the command line, you can also reopen the command line by double clicking on the router. Ta-ta. So now you see my color is a little bit different now, and you see the transparency. I can be able to see my topology at the back. By being able to see my topology at the back, I'll know, I'll be able to configure the correct interface, because I'm able to see it. Okay, so let's go on. So here we are in router 1. We are in router 1. So I also want to open the command line interface for router 3. So I right click and then CLI, or I simply double click. Now, your window here might also differ. For example, mine, we have tabs here. Mine are tabbed, R1 and R3. I like it when it's tabbed because I can easily access all my devices more easily in the same window. Otherwise, the default, I think, is this one. So that is, they're on different windows. So R1 is on a separate window with R3. So how to bring them back together into tabs? You click on this icon just beside the minimize icon. So if I click on that, now I have it. So it really depends with your preference. For me, I like it that way. So you see, you can know in which router you are number one by this label. So depending on how you've labeled in your topology, this particular tab will be labeled as either R1 or R2. So let's begin with R1. So which view is this? Can someone tell me? Which view is this?
That's the user view.
User view.
Exactly, this is the user view. Now, the very first thing you'll always do is to change the username of your, the name of your device, I'm sorry. And to change the name of your device, you need to go to system view. So you can just type sys, then you can use the tab. You can use the tab to complete. So system view and then enter like that. So now you see the prompt has changed into square brackets. Now, if I want to change the name, I remember it is sys something. Maybe I don't remember the other part. I can press question mark. So that is partial help. If I want to see all the possible commands under system view, I can press question mark. So just question mark there, and it will bring me all the commands. And other than the command, it also gives you a short description about the command. So for example, AAA authent bypass set remote authentication. Access user access. SCL specify an access control list configuration. The list is so long. You can move from the list one by one by pressing enter, or you can go page by page by pressing the spacebar. So spacebar will go page by page, page by page. If I want to get out of this list, Control C will get out of that list. Control C. So let's rename this device. So sys, then space. I can also use the short form if we don't have any other. We don't have any other command that is starting with SYS under the system view. So I can simply type sys, then the name of the router. I want to give this the name R1. So if I do that and press enter, you see the name changes. So I'll do the same for R3. So sys to go into system view, then sys R3 for system name. So once I've done that, I can go back to R1 here, clear. Now I can go into the interface view. The particular interface I want to configure is this one here on R1. So that's why I was making my background there translucent. So I can simply do int interface gigabit Ethernet. So I'm using tab to autocomplete, then the number of the interface. So now I've gotten into the interface view. If I want to get out of the interface view, I use the quit command. It takes me back to just the system view. I can also type the short form of that entire command, int g 0/0/0. So Q for quit. If I wanted to go into an Ethernet interface, E. G for gigabit Ethernet. Quit. I can use the history command buffer to get the previous commands that I've typed. So Control P, Control P, Control P. I want to go into that interface. So P for previous. Now I can configure the IP address. The command is IP address, then the IP address. So let me just clear, then tab. So IP address, I'm supposed to configure 10.0.13.1.24. So I can do 24 or 255.255.255. Now, okay, it's okay, no problem. Let me just configure it. So I have now configured an IP address on that particular interface. Let me clear. To confirm that I've configured an IP address, I can use the command. The display command is a powerful command which you're going to be using mostly to troubleshoot your configurations. So for example, display this. So when I'm in that interface, when I type this command, display this, I'll get all the configurations that I've done so far. all the configurations that I've done so far on that interface. So one of them is that. So you can always use this command to confirm that you configured the correct IP address. Display this. Okay, so we've now configured the correct interface. I can press quit. Then we also have another command, display interface brief. I can do interface then question mark. So these are some of the commands that I can do under display interface. In particular, this time I want display brief. Gives a summary information about the interface status and configuration. So that is what I want. So I'll clear. Sorry, I just pressed. Okay. So display interface brief or BR. I think there's another command with brief. If I press, okay, good. So if I press display interface brief, I can be able to see all the interfaces that I have. So in particular, we want to look at this particular interface, gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0. So you see, yeah, it was actually the physical status, so I was correct. So you can see the physical status is up and the protocol status is also up. So physical status means we've connected that particular interface to another interface with a link. So the physical status will be up. You can see these other interfaces, their physical status is down. Why? Because we've not connected any other interface in R1. Protocol status is up because we've configured an IP address. If we didn't have an IP address, then the protocol status will be down. Let me just show you that. So if I can clear, let's go back into int g0/0/0. So you can see, sorry, display this. So we've configured that IP address. If I wanted to remove that IP address, I'll use a command called undo. So undo IP address. I want to undo 10.0.13.1.24. So enter. In fact, you can see the message here. G interface gigabit Ethernet has entered the down state. So if let me clear so that you can see. If I do display this, we don't have an IP address. We don't have an IP address. Now I can quit, then I can type display int, and this time I can specify. I don't want all the interfaces to be shown. I just want this particular interface to be shown. So I can specify the name and the number of the interface. So I can get all the details about that interface. In particular, we are interested with this particular status. So we can see that the physical status is up, but you can see that the protocol status is down because we've not configured an IP address. So when you tell me I cannot be able to ping R3, I'll tell you, hey, have you configured the correct IP address? Number two, I'll ask you, have you even configured an IP address? So you should use these display commands to confirm and validate that indeed you've configured the correct thing. Let me clear. Let me also use the command display interface brief. Brief clear. Okay. So here, so physical status up, protocol status down. So let's just configure now the IP address again. So int g0/0/0 IP address. You can also type in short IP add 10.0.13.1.24. So now if I quit and do display interface G0/0/0, we should see that the line protocol has changed from down to up. Okay, so let's do the same for R3. So in R3, we renamed R3, so that is okay. So now we configure the IP address of interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0. So IP add 10.0.13.3.24. So quit. So after you're done, now, for example, if you want to test reachability between R1 and R3, you can simply do a ping from either. So we can ping R1 from R3. So renaming your device is very important in VRP because it helps you know which device you're actually configuring. Sometimes you're going to have so many routers, 4 or 5 routers. So you need to rename. It makes it easier to configure devices. It also makes it easier for us to help you troubleshoot in case you get into an issue. So that should be the very first thing that you do. So let's ping R1 from R3. So ping 10.1.13.1. So we can see that we are getting replies. We are getting replies from R1, and we're also getting the other statistics like the round trip times and the packet loss, percentage packet loss. So generally, these are some of the things that I just wanted to show you, especially how to do your topology, how to interconnect your device, how to label your topology using the text box up here, this text box here, how to show and hide your interface labels using this guy here, how to change your the size of your CLI text and maybe the color, also how to change the transparency using, of course, the settings here, which we've done. I also wanted to show you how to break these particular command prompts into different windows or into the same window using that particular using this particular icon here just below the minimize button. I also wanted to show you basic troubleshooting skills, the help features, and some of all those other commands that we've learned in the theory class. And now, with this introduction, you should be able to do Lab 2.1 on your own. If you get an issue, please feel free to post the question in the WhatsApp group. Then we will be able to support you. So thank you very much for your attention. Let's proceed, and for the next 30 minutes, we do Lab 2.1. Asanteni sana. So I forgot to show you how to save your configurations. I forgot to show you how to save your configurations, but I think you've already done it from the lab. So if you want to retain your configurations, on the user view, you need to use the save command. Save, like that. It's going to ask you, do you really want to save? You type Y and then enter. So before you close down your topology, always make sure you save. Y, enter. Please note the save command. The save command cannot be used on system view. It cannot be used on system view, so we don't have a save command on system view. It's important for you to remember that you can only save on user view. So after saving your configuration, you can now save your topology. Of course, if you want to retrieve it later, you need to save it. So just click on save, then choose a particular folder where you want to save it. Now, sometimes when you save, especially on the default folder, sometimes ENSP still loses the configuration. I don't know why. So if that happens to you, choose a different location other than the default folder, like choose a different drive. So just click here to choose a totally different location. So for example, I can just choose a backup. This is one of my drives. Then I choose a different location. Then I give it some name and I click save. So later on, I can be able to open up that particular lab, and the configurations will be there. So that is very important. Don't forget that. Okay.